It's nice to be the breakfast speaker. And it also is great to talk a little bit about journalism in these strange times, and to talk about the subject that is on everyone's mind, what everyone is debating and does not understand and is worried about, the fiscal cliff. And but before we get to that, let's talk about the CIA scandal for a moment. The next book I'm going to do has the working title, 50 Shades of Petraeus. And it turns out someone went on eBay and is offering $50,000 for a picture of Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell shirtless. Imagine that. Maybe that's too low a price. If you go back to 1978, when Jimmy Carter brought Prime Minister of Israel Begin and the President of Egypt Sadat to Camp David and kept them there for 13 days, and they reached some very significant accords, didn't solve the Middle East problem, but did some positive things that were a big deal. And I remember at the time asking one of Carter's aides, how is it possible that President Carter was able to do this? And the person very close to the president said, look, if you had been locked at Camp David with Jimmy Carter for 13 days, you too would have signed anything. It turns out President Obama is going to rip a page from the Carter playbook, and on the fiscal cliff, he's inviting the congressional leaders up, Speaker Boehner, Nancy Pelosi, Harry Reid, and Mitch McConnell to Camp David. There's going to be a little twist this time. The talks are going to be led by Vice President Biden, who has spent the last months preparing a series of exhaustive talks for the visitors on his views on Congress, presidential power, and the art of negotiation, and finally, the creation of the universe. If after 13 days they do not reach agreement, the president has devised a second wave, a charm offensive tag team to go work with the congressional leaders. The tag team will be comprised of Rahm Emanuel and John Sununu. It turns out that Emanuel and Sununu worked very well together. As you may know, Rahm, his motto was, "We have the votes, fuck 'em." And Sununu's motto is, "Just fuck 'em." If this doesn't work, the dream team of failed Republican nominees for president is going to be sent to meet with the congressional leaders. Three main people, Michelle Bachmann, Newt Gingrich, and, oops, I forgot the third one, Rick Perry. And if this doesn't work, they're going to send in Dick Cheney and Don Rumsfeld to work with the leaders. This is a strategy that is almost certain to work. Nate Silver, the New York Times blogger, who accurately called the presidential election, has put all of these details for the Camp David meetings into his computer model and determined that there is a 99.9% chance that the congressional leaders will limp back to Washington by Christmas time with a deal. That's the good news. listening to the journalists operating abroad was very sobering, and obviously the theme is in the journalism they practice, it is a dangerous profession. And I was reflecting back and thinking about being a practicing journalist for over 40 years in this country, and the truth is it is not a dangerous profession in this country. The barriers and hostilities that the two main award winners confront are on a scale that we American journalists never really have to deal with. And clearly we have real constitutional First Amendment protections, but in a more important way, we work for institutions that protect us as working journalists and reporters. Time and time again, over 40 years, I have found the managers and owners and editors of the Washington Post or Simon & Schuster, which has done my books, always there kind of sheltering and even at times coddling what I or other journalists were doing. And I can only I'm trying to find a theme in this, and I can only tell a very, very old story to illustrate this. And it has to do with going back to the coverage that Carl Bernstein and I did on Nixon and Watergate. And there was a moment, in January 1973, when Katharine Graham, the publisher of the Post, invited me for lunch. And she had supported the publication of the stories. Ben Bradley, the editor, had supported it. Others in the Post newsroom had. But by and large, and this is something that's forgotten, the stories we wrote were not believed and certainly not accepted as any sort of common wisdom in Washington. And in January 73, the journalistic reputation of the Post was in doubt. It turns out one of the secret strategies of the Nixon team was to challenge the FCC TV licenses that the Post company owned, which were very valuable. So the Post stock, which had just gone public, was down and floating in the toilet with the journalistic reputation. Nixon had just won a massive landslide victory. So this was a moment of deep peril for the Washington Post, and went to this lunch, and Katharine Graham sat there and started quizzing me about Watergate, and quite honestly blew my mind with what she knew about the story, and later would describe her management style as mind on, hands off, intellectually engaged, knew everything. And even at one point, I recall her asking, she'd read something about Watergate in the Chicago Tribune. And I remember thinking, what's she reading the damn Chicago Tribune for? No one in Chicago does. That's a cheap shot. Let me withdraw that. But I was stunned with what she knew. And then at the end, like the great CEO and publisher, she had the killer question, which was, when are we going to find out the whole truth about Watergate? And I said that Carl and I felt because it was a criminal conspiracy, all the incentives were to not talk and disclose, because the original 5 Watergate burglars were being paid for their silence, because when we went to visit people in their homes at night, almost every time people slammed the door in our faces. So the question, when is the whole truth going to come out? I said, never. remember looking across at her with this wounded, pained expression on her face, and she said the following: "Never, don't tell me never." I left the lunch a highly motivated employee, but this is the connection. The statement was not met as a threat. It was a statement of purpose. And what she said is, use all your resources, use all the resources of this paper to get to the bottom of this story. Why? She said, because that's what we do. That is the job we are in, and because it involves the President of the United States, we have a triple, quadruple responsibility to get to the bottom of it. And I left that lunch, I was age 29 at the time, feeling that sense of her purpose, that she understood the business we were in and the necessity of continuing the inquiry. And Carl Bernstein and I have talked about this, and Ben Bradley, the editor. Someday we're going to put a plaque in the lobby of the Washington Post, and we're going to have it drilled into the wall and bolted so no one can take it out. And it's simply going to say, begin quote mark, "Never, don't tell me never," end quote. Katharine Graham, January 1973. That is the tradition that these journalists abroad are living in. They are willing to engage in that fight, and whether it's at their level or the owners or the publishers, they are in philosophical agreement with Katharine Graham that you risk everything to do that job, and if somebody says we can't do it, we can't figure it out, the answer is don't tell me never. And the thing you kind of think about when you listen to what these journalists are doing and what's going on in this country, what happens in this country, and ask the very general question, what should we worry about? In the United States, obviously, the economy, healthcare, climate change, in the world, the same issues, highly specific issues to each region in country, but what all comes together, and my answer to what we should worry about in this country and in the world is secret government. That is what will do us in, and that's what these people are fighting with much fewer tools and much more risk to themselves. And the judge who said it got it right about letting secret government persist or continue and even grow, and that is that democracies die in darkness. And it is great to see these people engaged in this fight, which is humbling to those of us in this business, in this country, because we have it easy compared to them. Thanks so much.